Hey, I'm Steve Walter, and today I want to show you why you don't need to buy the new iPhone XS. It's time for a Tuesday Tips. And let me clarify, it's for one very specific reason, and that is depth control. So if you are looking to buy the new iPhone XS, XS Max, or even XR because of this new feature called depth control, well, you don't need to do it. It already exists. And before anyone might accuse me of being some sort of Apple hater, I am not. I own an iPhone, I own a watch, I even own the original iPhone, which I waited in line for, so yes, I am a fanboy. It's cool because it still works. Runs iOS 3. So for those asking, what is depth control? Let me first talk about that, and then let me talk about the alternative that I've been using for the past year. So depth control is this new feature that came out, and it allows you to manipulate your portrait photo. So when you use portrait mode on your 7 Plus, 8 Plus, 10, and now the new phones, it creates this blurry background, which looks really nice. And now this depth control feature allows you to manipulate how much of that background is blurred, or what's known as the bokeh, which is Japanese for blur. Anyway, depth control allows you to manipulate that. So if you want something to look a little bit more dramatic, or if you want a portrait to really stand out, you would increase the depth control or reduce the number. This is something that we see commonly in photography with your aperture or your iris, right? If you have a smaller number, 1.4, 2.8, something like that, you're gonna have a blurry background for your portraits. If you go higher, f11, f16, f22, you're gonna have more depth of field. So depth control allows you to manipulate that. Now, for the past year, I've been using an application called Focos. I think that's how it's pronounced, F-O-C-O-S. There's gonna be a link in the description. And this is an awesome application. It allows you to do that depth control, which was just announced, and it allows you to do a lot more. Don't buy an iPhone XS if you want depth control. You can do it with your iPhone 10 or 8 Plus or 7 Plus, and I'm gonna show you how it works. Let's check it out. Okay, so we're gonna fire open Focos, and notice it says it right there at the splash screen, computational photography, and that's basically what this is. It's nice that Apple introduced that additional ability, but this app takes that ability and adds way more complexity if you want it, but even just in the most basic functions that this includes, it's way better. It's just way better. So here when you're presented with it, you have the ability to take a picture. There are some settings, flip the camera around. I don't want to dive in so deep with this. Just to give you an overview, one of the things to mention is there's edit mode and continuous mode. Edit mode means when I take a picture, it presents it to me so that way I can start manipulating my image, my depth control, and more functions. Continuous shooting means just let me keep shooting, right? Straightforward. There's a bunch of other stuff. In your settings here, I would encourage you guys to kind of go through this. Let's go back here. So settings, I can tap on this. You see we have our model here just with a background, really straightforward. And if I take a picture, it's going to capture that image. And then I have the ability to tap on it down here to show all of the portraits that I've taken on my phone, not just what I've captured with this app. I can tap on it here. And then now I'm presented with the aperture right down here and the size. And again, this is connecting back to traditional photography where what you would do is you would open or close the aperture or the iris of the lens, and that would give you this blurry background. So look at this, 1.4 simulation really blurs out that background. And then if I slide it all the way back over here, this gives me f20. Apple's version gives you f16. I don't know how accurate those are. So if I actually bring this to say f16, is this the same as what Apple shows? Or even is this the same as what a camera would show? I don't know. It's a simulation, so I assume it's pretty close, but not true. You slide it one way, it gives you more depth of field. You slide it the other way, it gives you less depth of field. Now this next function is really what takes this app and moves it well beyond what Apple's doing. Watch this. I tap, my background is in focus, my foreground is out of focus. I tap, my foreground is in focus, my background's out of focus. That is amazing. That's awesome. That right there makes this application better than any functionality you'd be getting in the new phones. On top of that, they add a lot more stuff like the ability to choose. Let me go ahead and just tap on the background here. You have the ability to choose what your blur looks like. So here you can see it's a little bit softer, or if I wanted to make them different shapes, or of course they included, there you go, Apple logo. So now I have Apple logo blur. Why would you use that? I don't know. It's just fun. It's just kind of cool. Skulls, sure. That's what we need. And you'll notice that some of these features are going to have a lock icon. That's because if I want to dive in even deeper, right, like adjusting how bright the specularity of that blur is, it's in the Pro version. So if I go to this Pro version here, you'll see it gives me the option to do a one-time purchase of $11, or what's different is they let you buy it for a month. And this is not like a monthly subscription. It clearly says all subscriptions will not automatically renew. This is kind of like a trial. Hey, do I want to spend $1 to see the full features and functionality to then pay, $11 to have it forever? So I think that was kind of a nice approach that they made there. And you'll see in this little video up here with the cat, they're showing you kind of all of the functionality. And notice that right there and that, the lighting manipulation. I'll show you that in just a second. You can actually add lights and manipulate. It's really cool. It's really cool. So let's go back and we can slide over. You can see you can choose how vivid that blur is, or you can actually go in and really distort that blur. The LED is kind of cool. You can start to create these little LEDs. So now it becomes like these little dots. Again, really cool stuff that these guys are doing. The next thing that I want to show you were those lights. So here in this lighting, you see I have this bit of a 3D scene, and look at that. How cool is that? That's my depth map. So here is my foreground, my background, and my extended background. And it gives me the ability to kind of look at it, and if I wanted to, I could adjust just how bright or dark that is on its own, sort of the ambient, or as they call it, the sunlight. But now here I can add in a new light. If I add in this little lamp, you can see that now I can move this around my scene, and it's changing the light. I can change the color of it. I can change how diffused it is, the shadow. I mean, this is awesome. This is now you have this 3D rendering in this application that I believe, again, is free. Pretty cool. I haven't really played too much with the lighting. I know it's there. It's kind of neat. The difficulty with this is that if you don't capture the perfect depth image, the lighting shows up in funky areas and it doesn't really look that great. But you have the ability to refine your depth map. So I want to show you that next, this little paintbrush over here. So when I go to this paintbrush, whatever you see as green, or you can choose what color you want, red or magenta, whatever you see as green, if I slide over here, now my background is in focus. So here I can actually go and fine tune and find the exact slice of focus. So right when it hits her eyes, maybe right there. Maximum depth on her eyes. And if I paid for the Pro version, I could go in and get a brush and I could actually paint in focus. So let's say I wanted her in focus and I also wanted, somebody's face back here in focus. I could paint on that and they would both be in focus. Now you might say, hey Steve, well that's a really hard edge. Well then maybe I'd come over here and I'd soften it a little bit so that now it's not quite as crude. But you guys get the point. I can choose where my focus is. Again, these are functions that are within the Pro version. I don't really have much need for that, so it's okay. This is the other thing I want to show you here is the effect. Again, this is showing you that depth map, and this is really cool because you can just slide over, and you can see it's including what I painted there in my depth map. But this just gives you another way of looking at it. I mean, for nothing else, it's cool eye candy. You download this app, and when I downloaded it and I was showing people this, they're like, whoa, that's awesome. I'm like, yeah, no, it's really cool. Anyway, this gives you the ability to take a look at where your depth map is. You can actually there's some functionality here too, where you can go in and you can actually adjust it. Let me just find that, there it is. You can actually adjust it here. So again, really cool stuff that this application has. I'm blown away by this. If we go back over here just to the basic functionality, let's go ahead and tap back on our friend, and you can see it's including our background over here. And we can manipulate this. Oh, let's go back to where our size was. There we go. And bring this back. I can open up a portrait that I worked on before. Maybe let's go ahead and grab this one right here. So now we can blur out that background. We can, again, tap on the background. It's in focus. Or tap on the foreground. It's in focus. This was not captured with the Focus app. This was captured with portrait mode on my iPhone. So the flexibility is there that even if you've captured a whole bunch of portraits, you can open them up in this application and continue to manipulate them. So these guys, I think, did an amazing job, and I would highly encourage you guys to check out this application. To me, this is the future of photography. Megapixels and sensor sizes can only get so big. Eventually, we're going to hit some sort of cap or some sort of limit, at least within my lifetime. So what you do with the information that you capture after the fact, I think is really what's going to propel us into the future of imaging. And these guys have really nailed it. That application has figured out what to do with an image to take an iPhone sensor and the image that it captures and really push it to its extreme. So while Apple has a new feature and a new functionality that is cool, they're going to do baby steps, right? They want to play it safe. They want to make sure everything runs smoothly. And the fact that it's built in now is cool. Do not buy that phone if you are getting it for depth control, because clearly it already exists. And I'll be the first to say, when I watch the keynotes, when they're talking about the new stuff, I am super excited to see what they announce and what they introduce for the camera system. And this round, they didn't really do much. It was that and Smart HDR. So to me, I was kind of like, I don't really have a reason to get it. So I wanted to make sure I shared that with you guys so that you know you don't need to buy it. Buy it if you want to buy it. It's a cool phone, but you don't need to. So I hope that was helpful to see. That way you don't have to wait in the lines if you don't need to. A different approach here with the way I was filming this. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'm trying new stuff all the time. I want to keep these things engaging. I want to keep them fun. I want to keep them entertaining. And the thoughts, feedback, and comments that you guys have, send them my way. Also, if you want to, check out the stuff I have over on my Instagram, @SteveWalterPhoto. My IGTV page is linked up to that too. We'll be posting some content. And we'll see you next week. I thought it might be fun just to kind of put these guys side by side. Look how cute it is. So cute. Yeah. That's much better. Much better. When I look at the pictures that are captured by this, they're garbage. They have this weird green and magenta vignette. It's just not good. But man, this is what set it all off.